Hey guys, welcome back to a new video. So in this video, I'm gonna be breaking down what's in my camera bag 2023 for real estate photo and video. So I've been using a lot of the stuff in here for at least a couple of years, longer than that. Some of the stuff's more new. And I wanted to explain pros and cons of all of the things that I'm using, why I use them, and things I might be upgrading to later on this year. So let's get into it right now. Okay, so for me personally, I feel like gear and tech is coming out way too frequently. Like the new model of something always comes out way too soon. And I feel like it's as soon as I get comfortable with one thing, the next new thing is coming out. And it's just like, do I really need that? Or is this really just good enough? And can I just learn to use this really well? And I feel like that's the case with a lot of my gear. So let's get into some of the basics that I'm using. I've already mentioned this bag before in another review. That's how long I've had it for my 2021 What's in My Camera Bag video. This thing is a tank. It's the Tenba Axis 24 liter. They came out with the version 2. I might actually look into it because this thing has been great. It's really big, super durable. The only drawbacks I can think of is it's just really big. You know, it can hold a ton of stuff. And sometimes I don't want that, you know, for stuff like YouTube or personal projects or everyday carry, it's just way too big. So I actually invested in this. I showed this at the end of my last video. This is by Moment. It's their smaller 17 liter bag. I love that I can only carry, you know, only a handful of things. And so I'm gonna be really excited to be using this more because I feel like this year I'm definitely trying to carry a lot less versus add more to my kit. So quickly showcasing the layout, I have my camera body that goes here, my Canon R6, then my 15-35 goes right here. This is my 50mm prime. Then I have my DJI mic. Then my drone stuff goes right here, DJI Mavic Air 2. Batteries, remotes, I have 3 batteries. I got the Fly More combo and then the adapter. And then we'll get into a few other accessories that don't fit in here. And so first let's jump into the main gear, which is my camera. So I use a Canon R6 Mark I. The Mark II has already come out and I'm still using the first version because it's really good, you know? You hear that? It's raining so hard today. So the R6 Mark I is still a great camera. Photo-wise, video-wise, everything coming out of it, especially the video quality, has impressed me so much. And the firmware updates they've done over time has made the camera even better in my opinion. But I just love that it's small, it's reliable, it's durable. The video quality shooting in 4K C-Log3 Cinema Gamut like I am right now, converted, looks so good. Just simply converting it back to a regular color space looks incredible. So honestly, no real complaints there. So it works really great for real estate work because 20 megapixel photos is plenty. And then the video quality has a lot of dynamic range. So that's why I still use it. So a couple of cons now using this camera for about a year or two is sometimes, and only sometimes, 20 megapixels is not enough. Only if you have to crop in. So if you do constantly a lot of cropping in your photos, this is probably not the camera for you, but for me, I pretty much get the composition exactly as is, and I never really do any cropping unless I'm just, you know, bringing it to a certain aspect ratio. But 20 megapixels is typically more than enough for me. Video codecs are really hard to edit. The codecs are H.265, and even my spec'd out 2019 MacBook Pro can barely run them. It's the only big drawback because editing is like, you know, it just makes it so much longer. But that's more of a con on my laptop, which I'll mention also. And over the last year or two of using it, I have ran into some weird glitches that I either had to power the camera off or some sort of like glitch that it froze. Those are a little concerning because I never experienced that on my old camera, but firmware updates have fixed that to where I actually haven't had any of those problems. I just realized that, yeah, I haven't had any since then, so that's good. So I still plan to use this camera for a good while because while I've used the Mark II already, the perks that they added, the upgrades are just not enough to justify buying another $24.99 body. If it was a more dynamic range, even just more upgrades, I would look into it, but it's just not enough for me from the time that I used it. Next up, the lens that I use almost 99% of the time is my 15-35 2.8 RF. First off, this is a very expensive lens. It's just over $2,000. Oh, and here's a pro tip. I always buy my gear pre-owned, never new. There's a really awesome website called mpb.com and you can get really high quality pre-owned stuff for like a couple $100 cheaper, if not more, and that's usually where I get my things. It works so good. But the 15-35 is something I had my eyes on for a long time, especially because I was using a 16-35 f4 for the longest time. That lens was good too, but it was really limiting. The f4 was not very sharp, wasn't great in low light, and it just didn't have the best image quality in my opinion. So upgrading to the 15-35 2.8 was great because now this lens is more versatile. Basically, I only use that old lens for just real estate, This lens, I can film with it. This looks great. I can use it for client work, all the real estate work. Basically everything that I don't need a big telephoto lens, I'm using this lens. Nothing bad to say about it. And then the other lens that's typically in my bag is my Sigma 50mm 1.4 art lens. So this is a pretty awesome prime lens. 50mm is a great focal length. This is great for any detail shots you do for real estate photo video. Also, if you use this for any lifestyle, realtor photos, anything like that, headshots, this can do it all. So having a 15-35 with a 50mm in my bag, I feel like has me covered for practically everything, at least all the stuff that I do. So this is a really good lens, especially for the price point. I think it's well under like $800, especially if you get it pre-owned, you'll get it even cheaper. You can't really beat the price for the image quality you get out of this and that 1.4, which is really sharp. Only drawbacks I have is I feel like because I've been using this now for a long time, I've been having a little bit of a focus issue where sometimes at a really shallow depth of field, it back focuses or front focuses, and I kind of have to adjust it. So I don't know if I have to get it calibrated, but later this year, I have been thinking about upgrading to the 50 RF 1.2 lens. That lens looks really great. I used it for a short amount of time at a listing shoot, and I felt like I could see a difference, and not having to use the adapter with this would be great. Which brings me to the next thing. This is the EF to EOS R adapter. This is just the basic one, $100, but this works great. Converts all of your EF lenses to be compatible with the RF system, and it's really native, but it makes the lens a lot bigger. So if you're already using like a big EF lens, it's gonna make that size just even more, and that was the big thing with my 16-35. It just was a big setup, but this works great. They have other versions, like the one that has a drop-in filter option, which Taylor has, and the times I use that, that's really awesome. And then the other one where it has the control ring, where you can just have that to be your ISO, aperture, or whatever you want. This works fine for me. Dang, it is really coming down. I bet you can hear that in the video. So now jumping into some of the main accessories that I use for real estate photo video. First, let's jump into video. So without a gimbal, you can't really do that. So this is the Ronin S, the first one. I still use it, and honestly, it works so good. Like, one of the biggest things I have with gimbals is like, I don't care how many features it has, how many gimmicks it can do. I just want the footage to be perfectly smooth. And I feel like this can still deliver that, especially paired with the stabilization in the 15-35 and my Canon R6. It works really, really well. But I have a video on this guy coming out. This is the RS3 Pro, which is honestly overkill. This is great for like cinema camera setups, but it can easily hold, the setup I'm using right now. And this is a pretty impressive gimbal. I have a video coming out on this. We actually got to do an ad for the RS3 Pro, and I'll be showcasing that soon. But this is a big upgrade from the Ronin S. But the funny thing is they both do the same thing really well, which is just getting smooth footage. Obviously this has a bunch of features like the touchscreen and different controls and things like that, but the Ronin S is still just a really reliable gimbal as well. I feel like I might upgrade to this, if not the smaller version, but for the meantime, this is what I'm using for all my real estate video work. And then the next big accessory for real estate photo video is a drone. So believe it or not, I am still using the Mavic Air 2, not the Air 2S or anything else that's come out since. I'm using just the first Air 2. I still love how small this thing is. The Mavic Mini is smaller than that, but just this is so small still. So this has a great image for photo and video. The 4K video is really nice, and the HDR video that it has is actually a really awesome feature that I don't use enough, and I should do that more versus shooting in log. It's super small, lightweight to carry, and the Fly More package came with 3 batteries, and they last like 30 minutes plus each. The remote is really big, but this is kind of the standard one that they use for all their drones now, I think. Works great. So a couple of drawbacks with the Mavic Air 2. The log profiles are not the best because the D-Cine-alike, it's not D-Log, so it's D-Cine-alike, and it's 8-bit, and it doesn't have the best low light performance. And if you don't expose D-Cine-alike properly and you try and push it, it's gonna fall apart really easily. So honestly should shoot an HDR video more because it's like the same dynamic range, if not more, than in log, but it's not gonna be noisy or fall apart easily. So I just need to do that. But my good friend Larry also just replaced his Air 2 with the Mavic Mini 3, the 3 Pro. So I'm kind of interested in that because it's even smaller, still produces an amazing image, and you don't really have to worry about like certain drone laws because it's under the weight limit. So that's kind of enticing too. But for the meantime, I don't do a ton of drone work unless it's for real estate video. So I'm definitely going to keep using this because it works great. Now, if you noticed, I also have a filter on the lens, and that is a CPL filter by Moment. All of my filters, whether it's for my drone or my camera, are by Moment. They work great, they're affordable, and they're high quality. And I have a CPL filter on here, a circular polarizer. This is great to cut out extra reflections, deepen blue skies, and so this is something that is a easy investment and makes your drone footage a little bit better. So I also have a variable ND version of this too. Now for real estate photo, primarily my tripod. This is the Manfrotto Be-Free Advanced, and this is a pretty sweet tripod. This is a really durable, lightweight, and sturdy tripod. You know, look how small this is. This perfectly fits in like, you know, the side of a bag, or just, you know, I always carry it in this, throw it over my shoulder. I'm not a big fan of big tripods, big heavy tripods. I want something that's lightweight, especially if I'm gonna carry it all the time, and this does the job really well. The only drawbacks I can think about this tripod is, because it's so small, is it doesn't extend super tall. You know, I'm 5'7" and it comes up to like right to my eye line. There were a couple of times where I was just like, man, I wish it was a little taller, but other than that, that trade-off is totally worth it. And I actually busted mine. The knob right here is totally messed up, and it just, you know, I had to shoot and it fell on the concrete. And so if I do upgrade it, I'm still gonna get the same one, but I'm gonna get the carbon fiber version because it's even lighter and performs the same, so that would be even better. Okay, and this next one isn't a necessity for real estate photo video, but it lives in my bag. This is the DJI mic. I made a full review on these. These are incredible. These are wireless lav mics that work really well. You can just put this on your camera. I love how it's packed in like an AirPods case. That's so cool. And then you just, you know, put this on your Talon and you have pro audio. Really cool thing about this, I'm not gonna just dive into it because I made a video about it, but these work also with your phone. You can plug them in and you have really good audio. So this is really easy to use, sounds great, so I always keep it in my bag just in case I need to have some sort of high quality audio solution, or if I'm filming realtor lifestyle videos, so this is great. Okay, so next let's briefly talk filters. So all of my filters are by Moment, like I said before. Funny enough, these are the 77mm versions, these are the 82mm versions. Let me explain. Previously, the 16-35 I had was a 77mm thread, so these worked great, but then I got the 15-35, which is an 82, so I had to basically reinvest in those. So at first I was kind of upset about it, but then now I'm actually like so glad I did that because I don't have to constantly take the filters off, and I can have, you know, the CPL on my 15-35 and then the other one on the 50. I don't have to switch them. The most important filter for real estate work is probably a circular polarizer filter. It's just a must, you know, cuts out reflections from wood floors, pools, it deepens the blues to make the sky look more saturated. So this is always on my lens for real estate work. And then if I do need to use a variable ND filter, I'll use this to keep my shutter correct. If I'm filming a realtor talking or any outside work, if it's really, really bright, I'll still use a variable ND filter. But yeah, definitely check these out. These are by Moment. They're affordable and they're really good quality, so super happy with their stuff. And then the last big thing I need to edit with is my laptop. I have all my notes right here for the video. This is a spec'd out 2019 MacBook Pro. This thing is a beast, but it doesn't run the codecs of the newer cameras so well, like the one from my R6. I do think that I'm probably gonna invest in one of the new M2 systems that just got announced, or an M1. Honestly, like I just want something that can run the codec. Rather than just investing in a new camera, I'd rather upgrade this because this is what produces the work that I'm creating. And if it takes way longer and it makes the process not as fun, then that's a big bummer to me. So other than that though, everything I've produced on this channel, client work, real estate photos, everything has come from this and it's been great up until now. Like still, no regrets, it's been great. Okay, so now jumping into a couple of additional things that might be added to my kit. I recently just got this. This is the Insta360 One RS, right? Yeah. I just got this sent from Insta360. This is a 360 camera. Really excited to use this because I haven't used one of these yet. I saw Taylor using this and the stuff he created with it was really cool, but I'm excited to, you know, shoot some cool content with it, but also see how I can add this into my real estate media business because I believe you can now use this with Matterport, which is pretty crazy. Like, you don't have to use that big Matterport camera. You can just use this and create virtual tours. And so I'm gonna be experimenting with it, and most likely, based on what I know about it and what other people say about it, it'll probably be something that lives in my camera bag as well. And then the other thing that kind of goes with my kit is my phone. So I have an iPhone 13 Pro. I've made a little bit of content about it, but I'm actually anxious to do more work with it this year. You know, I kind of want to explore shooting client videos and other real estate work with an iPhone 13 Pro, because I feel like more people have access to, you know, a newer smartphone versus a very hefty, expensive camera setup, and you can get really similar results. So I kind of want to use that as like a challenge to kind of see what I can produce with something like this and make some videos about that too. I know that some of this gear, like I mentioned, is not the newest, the latest and greatest, but I feel like it's really tempting to always upgrade your stuff, but I feel like that's a bad thing, because simply having the latest thing is not going to make you a better photographer or videographer. I would rather invest in one thing that I know is, you know, pretty good, and just learn it the best that I can and hold on to it for a while. Because if you know something really well, like I really know this camera and I feel like I really know this lens and the other gear that I've been using, so whenever I go to a shoot, I know exactly what to expect. I know exactly what the outcome is going to be, versus whenever I was doing the video for the RS3 Pro, even though it's just a gimbal, it was still kind of daunting, because I feel like I didn't do the best of a job. I could have gotten smoother shots or different shots with my other gimbal, but because I wasn't used to this, I feel like I didn't do my best work, if that makes sense. So I definitely feel like having less gear and just learning it to your maximum potential is way better off in the long run. So I feel like I'm gonna do more of that this year. Well, that's it for this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed, comment down your thoughts. I would love to know what's in your camera bag. Subscribe if you haven't already. I would love for you guys to be part of the channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.